The rain was coming down hard that night, the kind that erased the world into streaks of gray and made every streetlight look like it was crying. Mark Dawson almost didn't see her. He was exhausted, running on fumes after a double shift at the warehouse, his old car rattling as he took the long way home to avoid the toll road. Then his headlights caught something unnatural on the side of the road, a body, unmoving, half hidden by tall grass and mud. His heart dropped before his mind even caught up. He slammed the brakes, jumped out into the rain, and that was the moment his life split into a before and an after. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that ordinary people can change lives in extraordinary moments, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect us all. Mark was a single dad, the kind who measured his life in school pickups, packed lunches, and bedtime promises. Since his wife had passed 3 years earlier, every choice he made revolved around one thing: getting home to his 8-year-old son, Leo, who waited every night with a superhero comic and questions about the world. Mark knelt in the mud, his hands shaking, and realized the woman was alive, but barely. Her uniform was soaked through, her breathing shallow, her face pale under the flashing red and blue reflections from a patrol car wrecked further down the road. She was a police officer, young, strong-looking even now, but bleeding badly from her side. He pressed his jacket against the wound, called emergency services with trembling fingers, and stayed with her, whispering encouragement even though he wasn't sure she could hear him. The rain soaked him to the bone, but he didn't move. All he could think was that if he left, she would die, and he would have to explain to his son why he didn't stop. Sirens finally tore through the night, and within minutes the scene exploded into motion. Paramedics, flashing lights, radios crackling. The woman was rushed away, and Mark was pulled aside, questioned, photographed, his hands still stained with blood. He learned her name in passing: Officer Emily Carter, part of a special unit injured during a pursuit that had gone horribly wrong. By the time Mark was allowed to leave, dawn was breaking, and his phone was filled with missed calls from Leo's school and neighbors. He drove home numb, certain he'd done the right thing, but already feeling the weight of consequences he couldn't yet see. The days that followed were brutal. Mark lost hours at work for missing his shift, and his supervisor warned him there would be no more exceptions. Bills stacked up on the kitchen table like silent threats. Leo sensed the tension and tried to be brave, doing his homework without being asked, hugging his dad a little tighter at night. Meanwhile, Mark couldn't stop thinking about the officer. He checked the local news obsessively until he finally saw it. Officer Emily Carter was alive but in critical condition. The article mentioned an unnamed civilian who had found her and called for help. Mark didn't tell anyone it was him. He didn't think it mattered. What Mark didn't know was that the entire police department was talking about him. The doctor said that without immediate pressure on the wound, Emily would have bled out before help arrived. Body cam footage from a nearby unit confirmed the timeline. Seasoned officers, men and women who had seen the worst of humanity, were shaken by how close they had come to losing one of their own. Emily survived surgery, then another, and when she finally regained consciousness days later, the first thing she asked was about the man who stayed with her in the rain. Weeks passed. Mark's life continued its quiet struggle. He sold his old guitar to cover rent. He skipped meals so Leo wouldn't notice the grocery bill shrinking. Then one afternoon, there was a knock on his door. Not a loud, aggressive one, but firm and respectful. When Mark opened it, he found 2 uniformed officers standing there, their expressions serious but kind. For a split second, fear gripped him. Had he done something wrong? But instead they thanked him. They told him Emily was recovering and wanted to meet him when she was strong enough. They handed him a letter, written in shaky handwriting, filled with gratitude and words Mark didn't feel he deserved. The meeting happened months later, in a hospital garden bathed in soft sunlight. Emily was thinner, moving carefully, but her eyes were bright and steady. She hugged Mark without hesitation, a simple human gesture that said more than any speech. She told him that during her darkest moment, when she thought she was dying alone, she remembered the sound of his voice and the pressure of his hands keeping her tethered to life. Mark listened in silence, overwhelmed. feeling for the first time since his wife's death that maybe the world hadn't completely turned its back on him. The story didn't end there. The department held a small ceremony that grew into something much bigger once word spread. Officers lined up, families attended, and Leo sat in the front row, swinging his legs nervously, watching his dad walk onto a stage he never imagined standing on. Mark was recognized not as a hero but as a reminder that courage doesn't always wear a badge, and compassion often shows up in the most unexpected places. The police chief spoke about how that night had changed the department, reinforcing why they did the job and who they served. After that day, things slowly began to change for Mark. A local business owner who had attended the ceremony offered him a better-paying job. Neighbors who had barely exchanged hellos before started stopping by with meals, rides, small acts of kindness that added up. Leo started telling his friends at school that his dad saved a police officer, pride shining through every word. Mark still struggled, still worked hard, still missed his wife every day, but the weight on his chest felt lighter. He understood now that even in grief and exhaustion, his choices mattered. Emily returned to duty a year later. The first patrol she went on after recovery, she drove past the stretch of road where everything had changed, and stopped for a moment, hand resting on the steering wheel, breathing in the quiet. Somewhere across town, Mark was helping Leo with homework, unaware of how deeply his simple decision to stop had rippled outward. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more people. And before the ending, we have one special request for you. Comment below what this story made you feel, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. Some nights are just rain and darkness. Others become turning points that redefine who we are. Mark Dawson didn't set out to shock an entire police force or inspire a community. He just chose not to look away, and that choice saved a life, healed a broken family, and reminded everyone watching that humanity still shows up, even on the loneliest roads.